Welcome in, everyone. Episode number 6 of the 300 Section Sports Podcast. I am back here today with Colin and Casey. How are you gentlemen doing?
I'm great. I've been moving in this week. As you can see behind me, it's looking a little rough, but hopefully next episode it'll look great.
Casey?
Sports-wise, not too well, but still living. Can't wait to talk about it.
Having a fun time with that World Cup team?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Very.
All right. Well, good news is we are going to get to talk about that today. But just a little introduction for us. We are going to be talking about today the NBA and the NHL, both very briefly. As I said last episode, they were kind of wrapping up their offseason, but a few more interesting things happened in both leagues. So we're going to talk about that. Mostly today, we're going to talk about the World Cup, the weekend review, round of 32, round of 16, not the round of 64, as I have repeatedly mistakenly said, and Colin continues to call me out. And if I say it again, please continue to call me out because I don't know why I keep saying it. Round of 32, round of 16. Also, MLB All-Star game, the rosters have been released. We're going to be taking a look at those rosters and seeing what we think. And the NFL Top 100 players, 77 to 100, are out. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Before we get into it, I want to plug our Instagram at 300 Section Sports Podcast, where we're going to post content throughout the week. Just a good way to stay engaged outside of the YouTube. Guys, or Colin, it's your turn today for trivia. You haven't had a trivia question since you heavily scrutinized me, so I hope this one's a good one. But you want to kick it off?
I cooked up this trivia question, but then I thought getting one of the answers would be a little too easy, so I modified it a little bit to be a little bit more pick multiple. So we all know the U.S., Mexico, and Canada have been wonderful hosts of this World Cup. Unfortunately, they fell completely flat, which seems to be kind of a trend recently. Most of the ones I've watched, Russia was not good. Qatar was probably the worst host of all time. South Africa kind of fell flat. I mean, we've had a lot of World Cup hosts fall flat. So what I got for you guys today is there have been 6 countries that have hosted and won the World Cup in the same year. Can you name 3 of them?
Dude, okay.
Dude? Anyone could just snipe one.
You're right. Okay.
I'm only asking you to get half. And it's World Cup winners. Only if so many teams have won the World Cup. I'm not asking for the year, just the team.
Yeah.
3 teams, right?
Just the 3 teams that have done it.
So we're just guessing 3 teams. We're not guessing.
You don't need the year. I don't need the exact year that they did it. Just 3 of the 6 countries who have done it.
What if I know all 6?
I'll give you
If you know all 6, I won't even turn my answer around.
If you know all 6, write them all down, Casey.
No, I promise I don't. Well, actually, you know what? I'll give you my 3, and then I'll write
you can give me
down.
your other 3. Your other 3 that you think might have done it. Yeah, I like that.
Ooh, I don't think I can name more than 4 countries though.
That's the last one I want to go with. Okay, I have my 3.
So I will say off the top of my head, I knew for a fact 2 of these. And other than that, I think I could have maybe gotten to the 3rd, but
I don't know off the top of my head any of them. So
no, me.
Okay.
You want to go first, Grady? Or
yeah, I'll go first. Okay, so my 3 answers are going to be, I don't know, I'm going to show it all at once. France, Brazil, and Italy are my three answers.
Okay.
Casey? Oh, right. So I went with, you're not going to see this, so I'm just going to say it. I went with Brazil, Italy, and Uruguay.
Oh, we have 2 of the same. Okay.
So I will say you both have 2 correct answers.
Oh, okay. So nice.
So So I'm impressed. Actually, I'm impressed. So the first World Cup, 1930, was won by Uruguay in Uruguay. So that's impressive pull from Casey. And then Italy won the next World Cup in Italy, which I don't think either. Did you say Italy, Grady?
Yeah, I said
I
Italy.
said Italy. So it was France in '98 is the other one, right?
France in '98 was the other one you got,
Yeah.
and then Brazil has never done it. That was the one.
Well, I just figured they won the most World Cups, so I was.
Were the
I
other
figured that was a
were
good
the other
shot.
two
But
Germany
my
or
worry was if I did
Argentina?
one, you just throw France and you'd get it. It would be too easy.
Yeah.
Germany and Argentina are the other two. And then England is the other one. And that's a big.
Literally, the first thought in my head was England, but I was like, no, they've only won the one World Cup. What are the chances they did it in England?
Right,
Well,
right.
It's actually funny you say that because the big thing about the English national team is that they have actually never won a trophy on foreign soil.
Until this year, it's coming home.
Yeah, it has to already be home for it to come home, apparently. It literally has to be home.
All right.
I was really impressed when I heard Uruguay come out of Casey's mouth. I can't lie.
Yeah, that's a crazy pull.
So that is impressive.
No, but the thing is, I was really skeptical about Brazil, and then I couldn't name a sixth team. But like, why didn't I say Germany or Argentina?
Brazil was the only like gotcha one I felt like was there, so that's
Yeah,
why I
I
didn't want
put
to do
Brazil
one
in.
because I felt like if it was just one, it'd just be easy.
Because I knew off the top of my head one of them was France in '98, and then I was
didn't
guessing
remember that.
Italy because I felt like I'd heard that before, and then I was like, Brazil's my next best guess.
Yeah, I was between two. What should I do? 2 or 3 correct answers. So I think 2 is impressive. I was just worried like you might throw down France and then like you just are really like throwing a straw at a World Cup winner and you could just hit it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I was like, let me make it a little difficult, but 2 out of 3 is impressive. Or two of them is still impressive. I mean, Casey had like 5 of them written down actually.
Yeah. No, I like it. Good question.
He low-key did know almost all of them.
That's okay. No, that was a good question, Colin.
Yeah, that was a good question. I liked it. All right, so moving on. Final bit of our introduction. Random pick of the week. This week, we are going to the WNBA. The Minnesota Lynx are tied for the number 1 team in the standings in the WNBA. On Sunday, they will be playing host to the New York Liberty, who just won the Commissioner's Cup, which is the same as the NBA Cup equivalent of the WNBA. So our pick is going to be New York Liberty at Minnesota Lynx on Sunday. Who do we think will win? Casey, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. I went with the New York Liberty because they've already played the Lynx before and they got whooped, and they've been riding high since winning the Commissioner's Cup. So, go Liberty. Oh, what? No, go Liberty.
Go Liberty. Colin?
Yeah, I also went with the Liberty for similar reasons. I saw that they just kind of kicked their butt, earlier in the year, and I was like, okay, so that's good to have in my back pocket. So I went with them, and I also recognized way more players on the Liberty than I did on the Lynx. A lot of the players, like Maya Moore, I remember being on the Lynx. Like she did not play there anymore, so I went with the Liberty.
Well, I went for the Minnesota Lynx for one reason in particular, because I won't lie, I don't know a whole ton about the WNBA, but what I do know about is USF, University of South Florida sports, and on the Minnesota Lynx, former USF Bull Courtney Williams is a guard for them. So I'm going with the Lynx as tying it back to the USF Bulls.
Nice. I like your reasoning.
Thank you. I thought it was pretty solid reasoning. All right. That is our pick of the week. Let's go ahead and talk about the NBA, guys. Really big news coming out of the NBA. And we had actually talked about this 2 weeks ago. Colin went on a little rant about this player, so I'm excited to see what he has to say today. But per ESPN's Shams Charania, the Boston Celtics have agreed to trade Jaylen Brown to the Philadelphia 76ers for Paul George, 2 first-round picks, and 2 second-round picks. So, guys, I think it's not just exclusive to us, but to most people, this is seen as a fleece for the Sixers. I mean, this trade is so unbelievably one-sided. I can't think of a trade in recent memory that's one-sided, as apparently from the day that it breaks. So are there any additional thoughts that you guys have on this trade besides the fact that Boston may have been fleeced here?
I mean, this is worse than the Luka trade.
Really?
Worse?
This is worse than the Luka trade.
And why do you believe that?
Because you can make an argument for what Anthony Davis is and was at the time of the trade. I'm not saying he was Luka Doncic, but at least he was something. Their plan just seems to be to have two players who are they didn't get anything back. They're going to have two players who are already on the team fill the role that Jaylen Brown already filled by himself. Paul George is well past his prime. Yeah, they got 2 first-round picks, but, I mean, the Mavs ended up getting Cooper Flagg because of it. Neither of these first-round picks are going to be Cooper Flagg. So, I mean, at the end of the day, was the Luka trade bad? Yes, but at least there was some upside. You could flip Anthony Davis to be even more. There's no Anthony Davis in this trade. Paul George is not that type of player anymore. We're only talking about Paul George because he was traded for Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, now that you say that, I think I do kind of agree. The return is, I do think Luka is a better player than Jaylen Brown, but the return is even less than what the Mavs.
Significantly less.
It is significantly less. I agree. Casey, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, just a little thing to add on, like, of how bad this trade was. Brown ended off the season with a career high in all 3 points, rebounds, and assists. So just being the player he was, I don't know much about like trades in particular, but it just doesn't seem right for a guy that just did all that in one season.
And I mean, you're right that like Jaylen Brown legitimately got MVP votes at the end of the year.
I mean, literally, like exactly what you guys were saying. I think the only justification I could make for myself for this trade was I'm selling Jaylen Brown high. But this is a package that you would get for selling Jaylen Brown low. So I don't understand. I don't understand the logic, especially of like, it felt like they, for some reason, felt like they needed to get rid of him. Mm-hmm. Like Philly said no to the initial offer, countered with this, and Boston was like, yeah, sure, anything to get him off our hands.
And I think that kind of ties back to, I mean, we had this conversation off camera, Colin, but you had mentioned the like perspective that GMs around the NBA have on Jaylen Brown. You want to talk about that a little bit, because I just think that's so interesting.
Yeah,
this perception that there is around Jaylen Brown by front offices.
Well, I just want to say one thing I wrote down prior to this that I did want to mention is clearly from what I'm seeing, it felt like there had to be some kind of disconnect between him and management. Like there was a fracture here. There had to be, because there's no upside to me in making this trade. They got an older, worse player, so I don't understand that. But yeah, everything I saw was I saw the Blazers GM saying I would not have traded for Jaylen Brown. We saw that he was available and we didn't want him because, he's not even the 7th best player on any team in the NBA. He might be the 7th best player in the entire NBA.
Yeah, like that is just a categorically false statement.
I don't understand. I'm not going to get back into it because I'm not going to rile myself up over the opinions of the lesser-minded, as I'll call some of these NBA GMs. But, I mean, it's just ridiculous to me. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's analytics. Maybe I'm missing something. But, what happened to the game I love, dude? Just watch this guy play basketball. He's infinitely better than Paul George is right now. I mean, if you made this trade in 2016 – sure. Yeah, I'll trade a high school Jaylen Brown for what Paul George was in 2016. But in 2026, dude, absolutely. Why are we even having this conversation?
Yeah. It's not even close in terms of a fair trade. And I can't believe that Boston agreed to this. And one of my questions that I had written down for you, Colin, and I think you kind of already answered it, was if you still feel the same way 2 weeks ago about Jaylen Brown. And I think that answer is clearly yes.
Yeah, all I wrote down was the word yes. My final point I'm going to leave on this, just to summarize how bad I think this trade is in one sentence, is Boston traded the finals MVP that finally brought them back. Sent after 2008. They waited all this time to win another championship. They traded their finals MVP for Pandemic P. So that's all I'm going to say on that.
I like
If you
that.
know,
a
you
little
know.
rhyme.
That's his nickname. If you don't know about Pandemic P, look him
No, I
up.
know it's
He
his
was
nickname,
horrible.
but I like that. Finals MVP for Pandemic P. I think that's
Yeah.
that's nice.
Clip that. Get that in the Instagram
That's being
reels.
quoted on the Instagram. They traded the finals MVP for Pandemic P.
And then just throw his bubble highlights in there, and we'll build a little house. I will move out of this apartment. We'll get
Oh yeah, is that right?
big house.
All right, Casey, any more thoughts on this before, or the NBA in general before we move on?
Not really. Haven't really been keeping up. Just a bad trade overall, like we said.
Yeah, no, I think we all agree. Just ridiculous, and I think Boston is going to regret this for quite a few years to come.
Yeah.
All right.
One side note on the NBA that I want to get everyone's quick opinion on. I don't want it to be a long conversation. Quick, just what you think about it. Bucks are retiring Giannis's number 1 month after trading him to another team. Thoughts?
Unbelievable. That is insane. No way.
Casey, thoughts?
Doesn't make any sense.
I have never heard in my life of a pro sports team retiring a number of a player before they were retired from the sport. The Patriots didn't retire Tom Brady's number until he retired from the NFL.
Bulls didn't retire Jordan's.
They could do this about Giannis.
Bulls didn't do this to Jordan when he was playing on the Wizards.
Exactly.
So I don't know, man.
Wow. Well, maybe in like their side, maybe. And he's not even. Is he the best?
You can't even devil's advocate. You can't even think of something.
Like, there's no reason this makes sense. Giannis is going to come back to that building in a Heat jersey and see his name up in the rafters. Are you kidding me?
He's going to be wearing number 7. They're going to retire a number he used to wear. He's not even wearing it for the Heat.
It's embarrassing if you're Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's bad. I get it. He's your best player of all time, but like, just wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have all the time in the world to eventually retire his number. All right, that's the NBA, guys. Let's move on to the NHL, and I'm very excited to talk about the NHL this week because I get to dive into a little bit of nerdy contract stuff with the NHL that I'm sure you guys are going to love listening to. But before we jump into that, NHL free agency did open this week, so just a few signings that I thought were significant, and players that we had talked about in prior episodes. So. And this is players that have changed teams. Sergei Bobrovsky, formerly of the Florida Panthers, won 2 Stanley Cups there, signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs to be their presumed starter for the next several years now, 3 years, $7 million a year. I think that's a really good signing for Toronto. John Carlsson, his signing rights were acquired by the Carolina Hurricanes for a 3rd-round pick. Despite that, Carlsson declined to sign with the Hurricanes and then signed a contract with the Tampa Bay Lightning, 2 years, $8.5 million a year, which is the same amount of money that Darren Radish will be making in Toronto, but for a much lesser term. And then Bowen Byram was traded to the Chicago Blackhawks for the 4th overall pick a few weeks back. He signed a massive extension. He is now the highest paid defenseman in the National Hockey League, 6 years, $12.5 million a year. I think that's an unbelievable price. I don't know what Chicago's doing. If they ever want to keep Connor Bedard and be competitive again, that's insane. But go ahead.
So you mentioned that John Carlson got signed for the same AAV as Radish. Which would you rather have?
I think on my top D pairing, and it's difficult because I've watched a version of John Carlson that at times has been the best defenseman in the NHL. Granted, he is 36 years old now. So just given the fact that he is that old and that Moser can command the top D pairing, well, without having to score, I think I'd prefer to have Radish. but 2 years as opposed to the term that Radish got.
Yeah, no, full contract. Would you rather have him for 2 years or
full,
Radish
full
for
contract,
8 years?
Full contract, John Carlson. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted your thoughts.
Yeah, not a second. Yeah, the 2 years, give me John Carlson for sure. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the big thing, guys, because I think that this very likely changes restricted free agency in the NHL possibly forever. I don't know if the NHL will ever be the same year after year in the offseason because per the NHL's Philadelphia Flyers PR team, they say, quote, "We have tendered an offer sheet to Anaheim center Leo Carlsson. The offer is a 5-year contract worth an average annual value of $18 million, which would require 4 of the Flyers' first-round draft picks in each of the next 4 seasons as compensation." The Anaheim Ducks have until Friday to match this offer. Leo Carlsson, whether he plays for the Flyers next year or for the Ducks, will be doing so as the highest paid player in NHL history at only 21 years old. I don't know how you guys feel about that. That's ridiculous. I've never heard of a player being the highest paid player in their league's history at just 21 years old. And you guys are welcome to interject and tell me if I'm wrong.
I wrote down my thoughts, but I don't know if you want to explain how restricted free agency works before or after.
Yeah. Okay. Let's, you know what? I'll start with that because I was talking about it with you guys, and you guys had both said you don't exactly understand how the offer sheet works and restricted free agency in the NHL because it is different from the other professional sports leagues. The way that restricted free agency works, and I think it's going to be an ever-changing landscape after this offer sheet, but teams are allowed to submit what is known as an offer sheet to a player that is a restricted free agent after the July 1st season turnover. If the player signs that contract, which in this case, Leo Carlsson signed a 5-year, $18 million a year deal with the Philadelphia Flyers, the team that he is restricted to has 1 week to match that offer or beat that offer. But, you know, this contract's already signed, so they're just going to match that offer. That's pretty simple logic. But the way that it works in difference to other leagues is that should the Anaheim Ducks choose not to match Leo Carlsson's contract here, they are entitled to compensation from the team who acquires their rights. So in this instance, this is, as I said, the largest contract in NHL history. By default, makes it the largest offer sheet in NHL history. But I have this table here to kind of explain it. Depending on how much you're offering in terms of AAV, average annual value, in the NHL, this is what you have to be willing to provide in compensation to the team that you're taking the player from. So in this instance, you see Leo Carlsson was offered $15 million a year. The compensation from the NHL is 4 first-round picks. Now, let's say, for example, they offered him a $10 million contract and Leo Carlsson signed that deal. Then it's 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 2 thirds for the next 2 years. Does that make sense? Are you following that?
So if you have a player who's worth more than $12 million, it's 4 first-round picks regardless. Like there's no
right.
That's
Yeah.
what scale ends.
Yeah, 12 million plus. I mean, the maximum contract that you're allowed to offer now in the NHL is 20% of your cap space, which I think comes out to roughly $21 million. Is the most that you're allowed to pay a player.
So this is like as pretty much as close as you can get.
Right. This is about as close as you can get to maxing out an offer. Yeah. So it's interesting because in the past, and I can't think of an instance last offseason, but in off seasons prior, you see offer sheets submitted every so often where, we've offer sheeted this player. They've signed the deal. It's a 3-year deal worth $4 million a year. And you send 1 second-round pick the other way. It's akin to trading for that player, right?
Yeah, I get that.
This is an absolute mega trade, quote unquote.
This would be the trade of the offseason. This would be the blockbuster trade of the offseason.
Right, if the Ducks don't match, because the Ducks then acquire a first-round pick for the next 4 years from the Flyers, and the Flyers have to pay him $18 million a year for the next 5 years. So it's a gamble from the Flyers, and they have the cap space to do it, so they're willing to take on that gamble. But I think there's also like kind of an alternative way of looking at it, as in hey, Anaheim, you have this player that you've refused to sign, knowing that they were going to become a restricted free agent. You let the July 1st deadline pass. So now we're going to screw you over. If you want this generational player back, your second overall pick from a few years ago, second only to Connor Bedard, you need to pay him $18 million a year. You need to make him the highest paid player in the NHL. If not, he's coming to us. And I think that's a really interesting way of looking at it. So if the offer sheet makes sense to you guys now, I want to hear your thoughts.
Do you want to take a crack at it, Casey?
Sure, because I think this opens the door to a whole lot of messy situations, because you can really manipulate the system to I mean, there's the cap space in the NHL. So making an offer like that, you have to think about, of course, the cap space and, like, I mean, just that overall.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's people can get really creative with that, I think.
This reminds me
just to
of?
start it off.
What does it
Yeah.
remind you of?
Like, if you're like you're like auctioning something off,
Mhm.
and there's that one guy who just sucks, and he runs up the auction on something you really want, and he's just hoping to leave you with the bag, like at the end, like leave you with it. That's the vibe I'm getting here. Because it's
Yeah.
just like, I come in on your best player and I'm like, I'll pay him $18.5 million a year. You want to pay him that? Or do you
Yeah.
want to let him go? And now it's like, well, I could have maybe gotten him for 13, but now if I want him, I got to pay 18.
And it's really interesting you say that, because since this offer sheet came out, it's leaked to the media that Leo Carlsson's camp initially went to Anaheim before the July 1st deadline hit in seek of an extension, and they were throwing around the $15 million number.
Yeah.
Now it's $3 million more.
Wow.
I just think it's funny. It's just like, you're almost like you're gambling in a way. Like, what I wrote down under this is, I think whichever team ends up with Leo Carlsson come the beginning of the season has lost whatever this interaction is.
You think so?
In my, well, I mean, 18 and a half, you're going to make him the highest paid player in the entire league right now at 21. Yeah, I think you've lost. Just because, yeah, he might be good, but you're stuck with him at, 18 million is what percent of the cap? It's almost like 15, 20, right?
18 million is, I think, slightly above or slightly under 18%, because the cap is at 104 now, so slightly below 18%.
So you're basically forcing Anaheim to spend 18% of their available money on one player, or you're paying one of your players now 18% of your entire roster. It would be like if in the NFL I saw Patrick Mahomes was going to hit restricted free agency, and I would like to have Patrick Mahomes, but I don't really care if I get him, but I really don't want the Chiefs to be successful anymore. So I just offered him $60 million a year.
Yeah, no, it's exactly like that.
But
and I'm like, you got to re-sign him.
And I think it's interesting because you use the term "stuck with Leo Carlsson." I think Leo Carlsson really flies under, and this is just my opinion. There's no statistic to back this up. It's just my personal viewing. I think you can make a legitimate argument that Leo Carlsson for the rest of his career is going to be compared to Connor Bedard, as they went 1-2 in that 2023 draft. I think Leo Carlsson very well is better than Connor Bedard, a better player. I think in 2 years, when Leo Carlsson puts up 120 points, no one should be surprised whether he does that with Anaheim or Philadelphia. So
yeah, okay. Well, I guess I'll put with a better comparison on it then. Like, I think that he might be good, but in a world where Connor McDavid is making that much money, Patrick Mahomes wasn't the correct comparison. It would be like if I was the Packers and I did this to Caleb Williams because I wanted to see if the Bears would be willing to pay him that much money when Mahomes is making less money than him. Josh Allen's making less money than him. And, in the
that's
NHL,
a great comparison.
McDavid's making all these, far less money than him, and all these other great players are going to be making less money than him. But you either have the good player who's maybe not the best player in the league, but he's good, but you're going to be paying him like he's the best player in the league. And I really think whoever ends up with him is going to be overpaying for what they're getting. And, maybe it'll be worth it one day, but you're taking a big risk right now, I think.
So I'm gonna ask a question to Casey now, because I think I kind of already got your answer, Colin. Casey, do you think this move in any way, knowing that you possibly will have to give up 4 first-round picks and sign a player to an $18 million year contract, do you think this makes any sense for the Flyers, number one? Number two, do you think Anaheim should match the offer?
See, I don't know much about both teams. I mean, I've seen the Flyers in the playoffs this past year.
Well, the Ducks made the playoffs too, but yeah.
Oh, you're right. You're right. So, I mean, it would significantly help them in the short term, but like for either team, whoever gets Leo Carlsson, but the team that isn't getting him, like just reverse of what Colin's saying, is gonna have the better overall trade, like long term. If that answers it, I'm sorry. This is a little confusing, but it's very interesting. I'm trying to take a jab at it, but
I get it's a little bit confusing. This is the most part of the NHL offseason.
I kind of think the opposite in a way. I think that maybe in the long term, whoever gets him is winning. But in the short term, I think whoever ends up with him is paying a 21-year-old $18.5 million next year. And so they're going to look like, how are you going to compete with that much of your cap in the sky?
That's true. Mm-hmm.
And I think both teams currently sit in a position where they can, work around that. Anaheim and Philadelphia are two of the youngest, most promising teams in the league. And so I think that the way Philadelphia looks at it when they submit this offer is, we were good last season. We dismantled Pittsburgh and Sidney Crosby in the playoffs. We came up short against Carolina, but hey, they went on to win the Stanley Cup. They were clearly a great team. So that must mean that we're right there. If we add Leo Carlsson to this team and we can make it work within the cap, what's to say we can't be in the conference finals next year? What's to say we can't be competing for a Stanley Cup? I think that's the way that they're looking at it.
I see it, but also like they're a young team, right? My understanding.
Yes.
Their contracts are going to come up. You're going to have to let these guys go. And I think when you're making the big, okay, we have cap room, let's drop $18.5 million on a player. I don't want to drop that kind of money on a player who could be really good one day, who could be the best player in the league. I want to drop that kind of money on a player who is the best player in the league, who is that good right now, because by the time I get the payoff of paying him $18.5 million, I'm not going to have anyone around him because I had to let all my really good young players go because I couldn't afford to sign them to, $10 million because I got $6 million left for, each player.
Not to mention 4 first-round draft picks.
And yeah, I haven't replaced anyone in that time because I'm drafting in the second round at the earliest.
So Philly would have to give up the 4 first-round draft picks plus pay the guy that much money
correct.
Because wow.
Yeah.
But see, here's my thought,
It's
right?
all coming together, but
It's really similar, in my opinion, to like what the Rams just did with Myles Garrett, except the Rams got the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett. So I don't care that they gave that up. They didn't trade all that for a guy who could be the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year.
True. Yeah.
They got it for the guy who is that right now, and they have an older core that's ready to win right now. So it's a different scenario. I don't think that's where the Flyers are. And for Anaheim, I'm like, wouldn't I almost rather just have 4 first-round picks and hope this blows up in Philly's face?
It could. The problem is you look like the laughingstock of the NHL when Leo Carlsson is up there with the, I'm not saying he will be, but if he's up there with the McDavids, McKinnons, Celebrinis, Kucherovs of the NHL, you
don't feel that way if he's playing for the Boston Bruins in 5 years.
How do you mean?
if Philly just implodes on him and Philly has to offload him then later on because he's not going to want to re-sign with, a team that can't put anything around him in 5 years' time, then you don't look like an idiot anymore. You just look like this contract was that bad. Now the Flyers have ruined, and maybe by that point Anaheim has rebuilt back up and they're competing, and Philadelphia's not because he leaves. It's a gamble. I agree with you. It's just a gamble.
It's a gamble.
I wouldn't take it.
And I think one more thing, I just want to talk about before we move on from this topic is I think certainly this opens the door to a lot of different restricted free agent possibilities moving forward in terms of, I think, seeing this, teams are going to look at this as an example of, okay, we need to sign our restricted free agents to a contract before this July 1st deadline because we don't want this happening to us. We don't want, when we can sign Leo Carlsson for $15 million a year, we don't want Philadelphia going and signing him for $18 million a year because that puts us in even more of a bind. So my question kind of is, in this offseason, knowing that, and I think mainly the big discussion is around Connor Bedard, the first overall pick from that same draft. Would it be possible for another team to swoop in and make him the highest paid player in the NHL? Offer him $20 million a year? I mean, there are teams that could do so. I think Pittsburgh certainly has the means to go out there and offer 4 first-round picks and sign Connor Bedard to $20 million a year. And then you have Bedard versus Carlson in the Metro for, however long, the same way that it was Crosby versus Ovechkin in the Metro for 20 years. I think that's an interesting possibility too. I'm not saying, I'm just throwing Pittsburgh out there because I think it's a team that is set up to possibly do it. But there are other teams that could go out there and make that same kind of offer that Philadelphia just did for Carlson.
The NHL is going to change the rule.
I don't think they will. I think they love the attention.
No,
I think it's great for the league.
I think they will. Because here's one thing to think about. And I know the NHL sometimes moves a little bit different than the other leagues. But one thing that always mobilizes, you have to remember, the NHL is a collective. It's owned by the owners of the NHL teams. So they set the rules. And the one thing that puts all those guys into action is when their wallets start to hurt because of the way the system is set up. So if the system is set up that I'm going to lose my best player or I'm going to be forced to pay an exorbitant amount of money because of someone else, all the teams are going to start looking around and saying, hey, why would I want this to be me? And I think it's going to be done away with.
Well, I think yes and no, because, it's paying a lot of money to one player. But at the same time, the owners go into every offseason knowing this is the cap space for the offseason. We have $104 million to spend. Regardless of how we spend it, we could be spending up to that threshold of $104 million.
Oh, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that now you're asking me to fork over this amount of money to one of my players because of the actions of another team. And I just don't think that's what's in the spirit of when they set up restricted free agency. I don't think it's going to be a complete shift that these guys aren't going to hit free agency. But I don't think it's going to be set up. The scale might go higher. The compensation might increase. But I do think that if restricted free agency is kind of being overlooked to this extent, and it's going to force, Anaheim to pay a player, make a player the highest paid player in the league, teams are going to have concerns about that. If I'm Toronto and I just drafted number 1 overall pick, I'm looking at this and I'm like, hey, do I want to have this problem in 4 or 5 years? No, I don't. And I think every owner who's got a player who's of this type of caliber has to be thinking, why would I want this to be me? And all the teams that are good, already, and they're not drafting that high, they don't care. They don't want to have to lose their players when it is them. So I don't think any team wants to be in the situation Anaheim is in right now. So that's why I think there's going to be serious conversations amongst the owners about an alteration of the way the system works.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. We've talked about this plenty, so we're going to wrap it up here. But before we do, Casey, do you have any final thoughts on Carlson, Philadelphia, Anaheim, any of the above?
Maybe not like that specifically, but I think if a team can really manipulate that system well, I think they will come out as a champion for back to back or even like 3 time, because this can be really worked out well for a team.
Yeah. I agree. And we'll see. Today's Tuesday. I think it's Friday is the deadline for Anaheim to match. So we'll definitely be. Sorry.
They got like 2 days from when everyone's watching this to figure it out.
When everyone's watching this. So really, I mean, we'll definitely be talking about it next episode, whether or not they chose to match or not. I think it's gonna be really interesting. But all right, guys, that is all the NHL for the week, and we really talked about one thing, but just talked about it very extensively, and I think rightfully so. It's very interesting.
It's really interesting. It's something I've never really heard of, but I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I think so too. So we'll definitely revisit next week, depending on what the outcome is. All right, guys. FIFA World Cup round of 32, round of 16. Since the last time we talked.
No. Right back up, buddy. Good try. Come back in the frame. You think you can escape your reckoning? You had the first pick. I don't feel bad for you.
You know what, Casey? You're gonna pull those antics. You're coming up to the big screen, bud.
Tell us the score.
This. As I say,
USA.
World Cup draft scores as of the Colombia-Switzerland round of 16 game that is now done. Colin is in first place with 119. I am in second place with 104. And Casey, you are in last with 77 points. How do you feel?
I feel horrible. I think I can't even say that I chose Portugal out of my heart. I think I chose them out of my butt, because what the heck did I even I saw Portugal, I was like, oh, they're a good team. Oh yeah, sure. I mean, you guys know I like making cook predictions and all that, and I was like, okay, you know what, let's go with Portugal. But God, I mean, Brady, to be fair though, because
I talked to Casey yesterday off camera, and I said, so looking back right now, what do you think about the Portugal decision? And he goes, well, I picked them to win because I really wanted to be different and spice it up, and I thought they had a chance. And then when it came time to draft, I just thought, well, I said they were going to win, so I got to pick them now. And I was like, do you regret that? And he goes, yeah.
I don't know. Let me just bring this up. Why are my teams I know that, but what happens on Thursday? I feel like I can predict this because Portugal, Spain scores in the 91st minute. Paraguay, France scores in the 70th minute. Japan, Brazil scores in the 96th minute. Ivory Coast, they freaking gave up a score in the 86th minute. Egypt, Argentina. Oh my God. No Taya Messier today, because they ended up giving the game-winning goal in the 93rd minute. So
which one hurt you the most emotionally? Of all the games you just listed, which one was the most emotionally damaging for you?
I think it was the Portugal one.
Really? I thought you were gonna say Argentina.
I did expect Argentina to win, but then when I was watching it, I was like,
80 minutes of thinking that you were gonna win.
I did, and then they scored that one. I'm like, oh boy, what are we gonna see now? Well, so I mean,
I'll let you get into it now, Grady. I know you have. We're going to talk about it, so we'll let you get it.
No. It's I just want to do one more final recap of this score update. Despite being 15 points ahead, Colin, you are at a slight disadvantage, at least in my opinion, just because I have 4 teams left, that being Spain, England, Norway, and Switzerland. Well, you only have 3 left in France, Belgium, and Argentina. Although I think, any combination of those teams besides Switzerland and Belgium could win the World Cup. Casey, you're cooked, bro. You have just Morocco, so we're just gonna.
Dima Maghreb.
Well, here's my thing. Morocco can score 6 if they win Thursday, then 7 if they
21
win.
Points.
So so he can get to 97.
Yeah, exactly.
He can max out 21 more points, and he still wouldn't break 100.
So here's the way I'm thinking though. I'm up 15, right? But my head, I'm actually up 9 because you have England, Norway, and you're getting 6 points. Someone's winning that game. You have both teams. So I'm up 9 with 3 games left to play in this round. So hopefully I can get Argentina and France through. And I don't have a lot of faith in Belgium, but I'll talk about them later because I know we have them on the thing. So I'll see.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and we're gonna go all the way back real quick. Round of 32, because I think this was easily the most interesting round of 32 matchup. Argentina, Cape Verde, guys, Cabo Verde. However, I think there's multiple pronunciations. 3-2 win for Argentina in extra time. And I watched that game fully. I think you guys watched that game fully too, yes?
Yeah, for the most part.
Can we all agree that was the best game of the World Cup so far?
No.
No?
No.
It's up there. I don't know if it's the best game.
But I don't know if it's the best game. I think it's definitely top 5 in my opinion, but I don't know if it's the best game.
All right, regardless, let's talk about it for a second though, because Argentina gets up, Cape Verde comes back, they go to extra time, Argentina goes up again, Cape Verde, unbelievable goal to tie it up.
Yeah,
insane. And then Argentina back up 3-2, which for me it was kind of unfortunate because I had Cape Verde. That was my second to last pick of the draft. I thought I had, drafted the greatest, end of draft team ever. But no, Colin, your Argentina pulled through. So any thoughts on that game, guys? Because it was just unbelievable.
You want to go, Casey?
Sure. I mean, I would just give applause to a very small country to make a team to even make it to the World Cup and just go past the group stage to make it to the knockout round. I know my Philippines team can't do that, at least in men's. But yeah, I mean, just utter applause for them. Colin?
Yeah, I want to give Cape Verde their flowers. They were not beaten 90 minutes the entire World Cup. So that's something to be said. Not many teams can say that. I just think my big takeaway from this was the road to going back-to-back for Argentina is looking more and more bleak as we go on.
Yeah, I agree. I think this game, guys, says a lot more about Cape Verde than it did Argentina. I think the story of this game, despite the loss, you look back at this game in 4 years of the next World Cup, it's going to be like, wow, Cape Verde, you remember that team? You remember Virginia in goal? Like, that was unbelievable. It's kind of like just one of those great, inspiring sports stories. I think it was really cool that we got to see that this World Cup.
And the Cape Verde goalkeeper, I think it's Voznia or something like that. Voznia. He's now the most followed goalkeeper in the entire world. So
good for him. Deserved.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So really cool game, really cool storyline for Cape Verde. But let's talk about round of 16 now. A game that I thought was really interesting. Ended up being dominated by one of the best strikers in the world, Erling Haaland. Norway sends powerhouse Brazil home early. Colin, you had predicted that you thought this might happen. You thought there were some flaws with Brazil. Norway ends up winning 2-1. Brazil's goal came very late off a pen, so it really was a 2-0
questionable pen.
Yeah, questionable pen at that. So it really felt like a 2-0 win for Norway. So, Colin, I know you have the Haaland jersey on right now. What do you think of Norway going into this quarterfinal? Oh yeah, look at that. That's nice.
So I did say Brazil would be my flop of the tournament when we were picking them. I think it was last week or the week before. So I'm feeling good about that. What I have for this game that I wanted to talk about. One, Brazil did absolutely in no way try to win that game, and they deserve to be going home. It was shameful, disgraceful, and that is not what I think of when I think of Brazilian football. And they should be embarrassed of what they put out there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Two, I think although the narrative has been Erling Haaland, I was more impressed by Norway as a team than I was of Erling Haaland. Because we all know Erling Haaland. We know what he can do. But this was the first game where I really sat down and I thought, this Norway team is really good as a unit. Again, Brazil had their chances, but Norway had most of the possession. They had a lot of the ball. They played well as a team. They looked good, in my opinion. I just think Norway. I think Norway could beat England. I really think they could beat England. Because I don't know how to feel about England still, but I feel good about Norway.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about England, but Casey, any thoughts on Norway or Brazil?
Oh my God, the goalie Highland, amazing. He was very surprising to me. I mean, when I watched Norway, their defense was not the best in my opinion, but him being able to block pretty exceptional shots, I was just amazed.
Yeah, I agree. And that kind of ties back to what Colin said about, the whole team just cohesively playing well. And yeah, I think an impressive win for Norway. And obviously they're going to be going up against England in the quarterfinal. And even though England has shown some flaws, it's nothing to scoff at because it's going to be a great game, I think. But let's talk about England. They beat Mexico despite a second half red card in Mexico City. They were able to win 3-2. Guys, any thoughts on this game? Because this game was intense, physical, really fun.
So I actually had a question for you guys about this game because that's what I wanted to know. I'm split on this, so I kind of want to hear your thoughts. Is this the signature win that England has been looking for to prove to the world that they can win the 2026 World Cup? Or was Mexico just the inferior team realistically that played them so close because of extenuating circumstances such as hosting the game and, being used to the weather, et cetera, and having all the fans, et cetera, all that fun stuff? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I kind of have an immediate answer to that in being I think the only way that England is going to be able to prove that they can win this World Cup is by actually doing it. We've seen time and time again in whether it's European tournaments, national tournament or international tournaments. Sorry, England comes up short time and time again. It's the same story over and over and over. They can't ever get it done. Last World Cup, correct me if I'm wrong, but they did make the semifinal. They got that far, and they come up short. A huge missed pen by Harry Kane, and they weren't able to get to the World Cup final. I don't think that this England team needs to necessarily prove anything to anybody. I think if you look at the team, you can see that they have the talent to win the World Cup. They have the talent to be one of the best teams in the world. However, for whatever reason, they're unable to actually compete with these big teams when, the times are the most dire. I don't think this Mexico team was necessarily anywhere near this England team in terms of talent, but we see that this England team comes up short, and it made it a great game, and I'm glad that it was a great game because I thought it was really entertaining. But at the same time, you kind of look at this England team and think maybe this game should have been a whole lot easier for them than it actually was.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought is, we've seen what they've done to this point, but can you picture this team from where they are now, putting down Norway, Argentina, and then either Morocco, Spain, or France from the other side of the bracket?
Absolutely not.
Like I don't think I can see them winning those 3 games in a row.
Yeah, Casey, any thoughts for England here?
I think if they can keep up with the team in the first half, I think their second half has been a lot better from what I've been watching.
Yeah.
And I think that's just coming up to my prediction between the Norway England game. Like Norway has to get up on them early for England to not make it back, because if they tie with England after the first half, I think England can beat them the rest of the way.
I disagree, though, kind of in a way, that if you gave me at the second half that you told me that both teams were relying on their player to come through, and one of them is Harry Kane, who has played as much as he has played at the age that he is, and the other one is Erling Haaland, who has been rotated out of one group game and is in the form of his life, tied with, well, not tied anymore since Messi scored today, tied for the Golden Boot. I'm taking Haaland, I think, at this point. Not to say Kane is a bad player, but at what point does Kane not have the go anymore to make it another 90 minutes. It's the same concern I have with Argentina. At what point does Messi not have it to give another 90 straight minutes of game time? And can Argentina handle that if that's the case? I don't know.
I mean, in simpler, more immediate terms, of what you're asking is if England can beat Norway in a few days. My answer is no. I don't think that England will win this game. I think Norway will find a way to make it to the semifinal.
I would like that. I would like that very much. It's
think
points for you either way, but I would like it to be through Norway because I am a City fan. So
to me, it doesn't matter. I'm getting points regardless.
Yeah, it's not affecting the match for me anyway, so I'd rather see Norway win.
Casey, who do you think wins? England, Norway?
I think Norway ends up beating them.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a good game, though. Really good game.
It's definitely going to be a good game.
Yeah. All right. We kind of already talked about this game a little bit in terms of the World Cup draft game implications. But for both Casey and I think this game is really where it went off the rails for Casey, and it was kind of game over in that he's not going to be able to win anymore. Spain defeats Portugal 1-0 in a late goal in stoppage time. And Casey, I'm just going to kick it over to you immediately. Just what are your thoughts here, Spain and Portugal?
I don't know. I mean, I was talking to Colin about this before, and it just didn't seem like Portugal was there to play and to win the game. It just didn't seem like the Portugal I've watched in the past. It props to Spain, but I don't know. It's really hard to comprehend all this when I just picked them first in the draft. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about it. I mean, I do feel bad that they got matched up in the round of 16, but that was also the fault of Portugal in their group stage to begin with. Like, if they had won any game or one more game, they would have been on the other side of the bracket and could have seen Spain potentially at the finals. But yeah, that's all I got for that.
Yeah, I think you're kind of spot on. Colin, any additional thoughts?
I just said Portugal didn't try to win the game, and Diego Costa is the only reason that they only conceded one goal in the first place. So I think they're pretty lucky to have lost 1-0.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was 1-0 in the end, but it really felt like Spain dominated the game throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the big kicker, guys. Sunday, we get news. Flo Balogun, his red card suspension has been reversed by FIFA, and in kind of unprecedented terms. But as United States fans here, I'm sure none of us were opposed to that happening. Despite that, Belgium dominates the United States last night, 4-1. We delayed this podcast today to be able to watch that game, and that is what the United States team gave us. Was
I feel just like Matt Freese, except I hate that guy.
I mean, let's kick it off there. Let's kick it off there, because I have a lot of complaints about the United States from yesterday, because I thought yesterday was really a crap performance that was inexcusable. But that third goal especially, in my opinion, indicated a team that was so demoralized and had accepted defeat at that point that they were able to give up, in my opinion, what was the worst goal of the entire tournament. There was no reason that ball should have been in the back of the net whatsoever.
Yeah. I just said the U.S. was outmatched. That's really all I have to say about it. This Belgium team came more prepared. They had more experience. They seemed more ready to go. And it showed on the field. They came out when things didn't go their way. They responded. When things didn't go our way, we folded. I think the second goal deflated the team. They finally felt, I think the U.S. was like, maybe we can get to penalties. Things were kind of like, they were able to flick the ball back into the net. Things were going their way a little bit. Belgium come right back down 2 or 3 minutes later. They score again, and it absolutely deflated the U.S. I don't think they ever stood a chance. I want to give Belgium their flowers, though. I did draft them because I thought they could be good. And I will say I started to worry that they weren't good. But one thing I do want to say on their, to their credit is maybe this team really is still that good. So I do want to give the U.S. the benefit of the doubt there. I know Belgium looked bad in the group, but we have to remember they played Egypt, and we just watched Egypt hold Argentina scoreless for 80 minutes, basically. So maybe this Belgium team is actually pretty good, and they can make things happen. Ever since we've got to the knockouts, they had a really gritty, hard-fought win against Senegal, a team people thought were going to be really good, and they beat the U.S. in Seattle, which has been the best crowd for the U.S. to this point. So, I mean, maybe Belgium just is good, or maybe the U.S. is that bad. Well, time will tell.
Well, Casey, what do you think? Do you think Belgium is that good, or do you think the U.S. was just that bad yesterday?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both, but more towards Belgium being that good. I mean, I was clowning them during the group stage because they had just tied to Egypt, who I didn't think was that good of a team. Now, I thought Egypt was really good, especially against Argentina. Well, until that last 10 minutes, but they were still really good. So I mean, if Belgium can keep doing what they've been doing in the group or the knockout stage, I think they can go to the semifinals and beat Spain going there.
I would like that.
Yeah,
I bet you would.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that, but I mean, hey, Belgium looked good yesterday. A 4-1 win despite the opponent. How good or bad they played doesn't really matter. That's a convincing win. And it was just a demoralizing loss for the U.S. But I think the positive to look at is that this U.S. team, I think we can all agree, put it on a significantly better showing than they did at the World Cup in 2022. And at the trajectory they're currently on, I think that puts them in a pretty good spot for 2030 to be at a minimum in the same spot, if not better.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that.
Yeah. And, final thought, that last goal to make it 4-1 was completely unnecessary from Lukaku, a.k.a. Leonard Fournette. That was unbelievable. You don't need to be doing all that.
If they don't like it, they could have stopped him.
That's true.
Right.
But they weren't in the business of stopping him very much yesterday.
Yeah. Well,
we just got Tim Ream,
Yeah. Well, it reminded me of playoff Lenny Bucks Leonard Fournette. Have you guys been seeing that? Leonard Fournette's been posting them.
He's been posting them. I didn't know that. I've just
Leonard Fournette himself on Instagram is posting pictures of Lukaku playing as if he's him. It's really funny.
Good for him, man.
Yeah. Anyways, final World Cup game that I want to talk about, round of 16, happened earlier today. Argentina versus Egypt. Egypt goes up 2-0. There was, kind of a controversial goal that was taken off the board for Egypt. However, in the final 20 minutes of the game, Argentina scores 3 goals to go up 3-2 and eventually win the game in only the second multi-goal comeback of this tournament. So I think that's impressive for Argentina. But guys, any thoughts here for Egypt or Argentina?
Well, I think if you're Egypt, they're going to focus on the call, which is fair in a way, but I think they should really be focusing on how they played in that very end of the game. It felt like that header that finally conceded broke them. Just like it felt like a moral backbreaker for them. They were not the same team after that. Again, they played well. I mean, they clearly had a strategy. It was, we scored, let's stop them from scoring for the rest of the game. Mo Salah played right on the edge of the box, which is normally great for your striker, except for the fact he was playing on the edge of the defensive box for the entire game. They looked good for 80 minutes. They had never won a knockout game before this. They took Argentina to the 93rd minute. Congrats, I guess. But there's nothing great to tell them.
Yeah, Casey?
I mean, just another shout out to another great goaltender in Gobert. He put his heart and soul for this team, and just when it came down to business, his team wasn't there for him, and it just really sucks because I don't know why I have a soft spot for goalkeepers. Maybe because I play on our I am teams as one, and I don't do as good, and I'm just so amazed by how well they do. But it was just really frustrating to see like them just crumble. Like he was there for them, and they weren't for him. So that's all I have.
Yeah, no, I think for Egypt, you're right, Colin. And my personal opinion is that goal shouldn't have been called back. It was a foul that happened on the opposite side of the field. They let the play continue all the way down to the other end where Egypt ended up scoring.
I feel both. I feel two ways about it. I agree with your point. On the other hand, if we really watch it in real time, they go from winning the ball on that foul to running straight down the pitch and scoring a goal. So if we want to say that a foul in the build-up to the goal negates a goal, they did take that foul and lead it directly down into a goal. There wasn't a lot of like, oh, it got passed around, it tipped off an Argentina guy. It was, we committed a foul, I ran it down to the midline, I passed it into the center, the guy in the center kicked it off to the wing, the guy on the wing put it into the net. Realistically, the ball touched 3 players on the way down the field after a foul. That was a pretty clear foul that won them the ball.
Sure, but even if the ref missed the call, I mean, he had plenty of time to call that on the field. I don't know how you feel about it, but
that's not how VAR works, though. They can't call it until there's a stoppage, and the only stoppage was the goal 30 seconds later.
No, and I understand that, but my personal opinion, and maybe you disagree, if we're talking about VAR, I think VAR has its benefits and drawbacks in certain parts of the game. I think a clear drawback, in my opinion, is looking at a foul on a goal that happens on the opposite end of the field. I think that's kind of egregious, in my opinion.
I agree with you because I do, think VAR takes some of the magic out. I think that was a really cool moment in the game. I think that was really cool for Egypt. They might not have scored a third goal. That might have changed completely how they played. That still would have been 3-2. Who knows? But it was a really good moment that happened for them. The alternate is that it was a foul. And although we can say it happened 100 yards away from where the goal was scored, it happened within the same minute as the goal was scored. So I think a big part of it is how you're dividing up how far away the goal and the foul were, because they were within the same minute, but they were 100 yards away. So how VAR make the determination there on what they want to do? Now, again, I've seen a lot of egregious moves from VAR on determining what is and what is not a red card when it comes to the studs on a player, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to get into that. They slow down the play sometimes. They speed up the play sometimes to look at it. They're really not supposed to do that. I know they sped up the buildup of Egypt. They did it in like 2 times speed or something, so it looks even more direct than it actually is to the goal. So I think that was kind of unfair to Egypt. I will agree. Again, I think VAR takes the magic out of the moment. It completely deflates Egypt and deflates the stadium after that and gives Argentina second life. On the flip side, he did foul him pretty egregiously, and it resulted in a goal.
Yeah, I think, clearly there are 2 ways to look at it, and I think it'll be debated as long as Argentina remains in the World Cup.
My issue is I think both sides can be right.
Yeah, I think so, too.
I can rationalize that in my head, that both sides are right. Egypt should feel aggrieved, but the right call was made.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a little bit of both. And I think, at the end of the day, Egypt really needs to look at it as we just went toe-to-toe with the reigning World Cup champions. That's a pretty good day's work if you're really thinking about it. It's demoralizing to give up a multi-goal lead. But, if it was 3-2 and they were the ones who came back from down 3-0 to make it 3-2, you'd feel pretty good after that loss. So it's perspective for Egypt. All right, before we move on from the World Cup, Casey, any more thoughts on Egypt, Argentina, that foul?
I mean, I thought it was a little interesting when the broadcaster brought up that, was it within the VAR regulation? And
if anything, I'm confused by it. So I don't know if either of you guys can clear it up. Like, what
I don't
is
think
like
the AR's been following their regulations. So
Not
that's where I'll leave you with that.
then we can cancel this World Cup and just give it to Portugal.
Dude, if they're giving it
Like
to
that,
anyone,
what
they're
a-
giving it to Argentina, buddy.
If that's the way FIFA could have it, that's the way it would be.
Actually, they might give it to Portugal just because they want Ronaldo to have one too, I guess. But they don't seem to be interested in that, unfortunately for you.
Pity championships suck.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on from the World Cup. We will be back next week as I think by then we will be in the semifinal. We'll be leading up to the semifinal by then. So yeah, that'll be really interesting to look at. All right, guys, let's move to the MLB really quickly. We talked about All-Star lineups, our predictions last week. We actually did pretty well for both sides of the American League and the National League. But let's go ahead and take a quick look. So reading down from the American League, the catcher will be Shea Langoliers. First baseman voted for was Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but he will not play in the game. So replacing him will be, and I need to say this carefully, Nick Kurtz. Second baseman, Ernie Clement. Third baseman, Junior Caminero. Shortstop, Bobby Witt Jr. Outfielder, Mike Trout. Byron Buxton and Aaron Judge. And the designated hitter will be Yordan Alvarez. In the National League, the catcher is Drake Baldwin. First baseman, Freddie Freeman. Second baseman, Ozzie Albies. Third baseman, Max Muncy. At short is CJ Abrams. The outfielders are Brandon Marsh, Juan Soto, and Andy Pajes. And the designated hitter will be Shohei Ohtani. So, guys, I think these lineups about ended up the way that we predicted them. So I just want to go ahead and maybe ask quickly any thoughts on the lineup, anything you might change.
Well, the voting system, because Ernie Clement shouldn't be there, and Brandon Marsh is only there because Philly's hosting the All-Star game. But that's just my 2 cents on that.
Casey?
I thought Brandon Marsh did really well. I mean, with his stats, like I know Ronaldo. Yuck. Acuna is a really good player, but I don't know. He just didn't show as much as Brandon Marsh. And for the first base, I think it was really tight. But I think I was just jabbing because I really like, or I am a LA fan, but it sucks to see that Olsen didn't end up getting it.
Yeah, I think Olsen had a better season, but I'm not mad that Freddie Freeman got it. That's not one of the ones that I think is like a disservice of the voting system.
Mm-hmm. It was just a little quick thing that I had.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, he's still an All-Star though, right? He's a reserve.
I believe so. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it works out.
True, yeah.
Even in the MLB case, he still has Cristiano Ronaldo in the back of his mind. So
can't.
I feel like speed.
Don't know.
Oh, Cristiano Ronaldo's in your room, Casey. He's coming for you.
We're CR7.
All right.
If Ronaldo tries to score with Casey, he's gonna miss because that's how he played this World Cup.
Casey, you mentioned you're a Dodgers fan, so you're probably happy to see Freddie Freeman, Andy Pajes, Shohei Ohtani in the game. Colin, you and I, as Rays fans, I'm ecstatic to see Junior Caminero as the third baseman. He was really the only logical choice. I'm not surprised that he's there. But I'm more excited to see him in the home run derby this year. I don't know about you.
I saw him in person last year, so I'm excited to see it on TV this year. I don't know if you saw, but Junior Caminero is starting for the second time as an All-Star. Do you know how many other Rays have done that?
One. Oh.
Longoria never did?
Never
That's what I was
started
thinking.
He was an All-Star more than once, but he never started multiple All-Star games.
That's interesting because my thought was surely Longoria had, but that's interesting. I mean, hey, that only bodes well for Caminero.
Yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing. He was on like a 10-game home run streak too. So,
wow.
Yeah,
good for him.
Yeah, it was 11 home runs in 11 games at one point.
I think it was like 10 games straight too. So
yeah, crazy. So yeah, really impressive for Junior Caminero. Any other thoughts on the All-Star lineup, guys?
I'm excited to watch, but I have a feeling we can talk about it more next week since the game will be will happen after next episode.
Yeah, I agree. Casey?
I think there was one player that I think got snubbed from the All-Star game in like as a whole, and I think it was Justin Robleski. Yeah, exactly. You don't know him. You don't know him. That's what's.
But that's not how reserves are picked. But that's not how reserves are picked. They're picked by people who know all the players.
Oh, I did not know that. Well,
we don't vote on those. We only vote on the starters. Like
they know that people are stupid. They don't let them pick all the players.
MLB managers and like players and everything like have a say in who the rest of the All-Stars are.
Yeah.
But I think there was another Dodger unknown that
who would you replace?
All-Star game. Oh, I don't know. Just add him in.
But here is a thing that you have to remember. Every team has to have one All-Star.
Ooh, that's horrible.
So you can only have so many Dodgers on the team if every team has to have one.
Ugh.
Well, if we're just throwing out favorite players from our teams, or actually not my favorite player, but favorite teams, Craig Kimbrell needs to be an All-Star for how well he helps out the other team. I think that's where
Kimbrell.
Put him in the NL.
Put him in the NL.
Put him on the NL. Get that guy on the NL team, bro. You know what? Actually, here's what I'll say. Craig Kimbrell should pitch to Junior Caminero for the home run derby.
He would win. It wouldn't even be close.
He'd win. It would be unfair. It'd be like people would think he was doping.
But the only reason he might not win is because of that stupid windup he does.
Well, it's not working this year. So
yeah,
definitely.
Teams are raking off him.
All right, guys, that's the MLB All-Star preview. We'll talk about it more next week as the All-Star game will be played then. But Casey, you came up with a really good, fun idea to talk about the NFL because we haven't talked about the NFL in a little bit. They are releasing their top 100 players right now, and they have released players 77 through 100. So all of us have a list in front of us, and my question for y'all is: we're each going to pick one player that is too high, one player that is too low on the list. So, Colin, I'm going to start with you. Too high, too low. Who do you got?
So, too high, I put Aziz Al-Shaair of the Houston Texans. I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on that. I just see, looking at this list, I can see 1, 2, 3 linebackers who are ranked below him who I think are better than him. So that speaks for itself. I think they had a better season than him. I think they're better players than him. So I think he's too high. I think he's a dirty player, and I don't particularly like him. Person I thought who was too low, Derek Brown. This guy's horrifying. He's so good. And he's only this low because he plays for Carolina in the NFC South, and no one cares about our division or those teams. But this guy is a freak, and he shuts down the run game of the opposing team almost every week, it feels like.
Yeah, I think those are two really strong selections. They were on my short list as well. Casey, your players, too high, too low. Who do you have?
Too high, Bryce Young. His stats weren't there. 21st in passing yards, 16th in passing touchdown, 10th highest in interceptions. Geno Smith has better numbers than that, and we have him in the top 100. I don't understand that.
He was better
Maybe I'm just speaking. Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, he made the playoffs. He lost to the Rams. Ooh, bang. Okay.
He almost beat the Rams. He did
beat
the Rams in the regular season.
Almost still means loss, so I'll go with that. But with my too low pick,
you know what else the Rams lost?
The Seahawks. But they did gain Myles Garrett out of it, so I'm good with that. So for the too low pick, I went with Creed Humphrey. I don't know. He has been a growing center and has been up there as the top center for at least 2 years now. But he was ranked 93rd last year, and then he got dropped 1 to 94. I do feel bad for offensive linemen because they don't have the stats that they can show like for wide receivers or running backs. But I think as a top center, I think he should get more recognition on the top 100.
I mean, the one thing I will say is, with all due respect to Creed Humphrey, I think he's really good. I do think the strategy that they take when putting offensive linemen on this list is, I think this guy's within the top 100. We got to get him on there somewhere. Yeah, 95 looks good.
It feels bad that he just got dropped one. It just seems, I don't know.
I mean, that's semantics, in my opinion, the drop of one. But yeah, I don't know if he's necessarily the 94th best player in the league. I think he's probably a little bit better than that. If I was making an offensive line for next season, my dream offensive line, he probably might, he could very well be on it, if not first team, second team. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with both of your selections, actually, Casey. And the one that I wanted to go with, my top player that I thought was overrated, was Bryce Young. I agree 100%. However, I'm going to start with the player that I think was too low, because I think those players should go first. None of the players that I have highlighted, you guys said, or that I really wanted to say, you guys said. So there's a few, but I'm going to pick two, just because I think there's two. I thought one of them would have been said by y'all, and I think both these players deserve their flowers. So at 83, Jeffrey Simmons, Tennessee Titans. I mean, you talk about Derek Brown being a freak. Jeffrey Simmons is just as much, if not more, of a freak in Tennessee, and I think
Derek Brown's better than him.
I disagree. I think he is completely held back by the fact that he plays for the Titans. I mean, 11 sacks last year from the nose tackle spot. That's impressive.
Yeah, but Derek Brown plays for the Panthers. That's not any like.
Jeffrey Simmons plays for the Titans.
Yeah, but I mean, Derek Brown played with Brian Burns, and they shipped him out and said, "Have fun doing the whole offensive line by yourself."
Who else does Jeffrey Simmons have?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, no one. But Jeffrey Simmons is way further in his career. Jeffrey Simmons hasn't been to the playoffs. He took Bryce Young to the playoffs.
When was Burns on the Panthers? Because all I'm seeing is that Derek Brown had
This was like a year or two ago.
We're moving on. I'm not hearing this about when was Brian Burns on the Panthers.
He never was. There was no Brian Burns in Carolina. I made it up.
My other player, and maybe Colin will agree with this one, at 78, and obviously we haven't seen who's beyond 77 yet. I think Josh Sweat is criminally underrated for the Cardinals. He had 12 sacks last season while dropping back in coverage for a significant amount of his snaps as well. Josh Sweat was clearly the best player in Arizona defensively, which sure, that might not have been a hard mark to meet because Arizona was hot garbage. But I think it goes without saying that Josh Sweat took a step forward, leaving Philadelphia, going to Arizona, and I think he's become a far better player, and he should be much higher on the list, in my opinion.
Yeah, he just didn't jump off the page at me in the same way that Derek Brown did, because this guy horrifies me, and no one in the league seems to know that he's a freak.
Dude, Colin's never been able to let go Derek Brown. All right.
He's so good.
I know he's good. All right. Last player that I want to bring up, a player that I think is way too high on this list. Guys, at some point we got to let it go. I know he's the darling of the NFL. He's great for media. He's great for everything for the NFL in terms of marketing. Travis Kelce is not the 79th best player in the NFL anymore. He at one point, he was probably a top 10 player in the NFL. For a majority of his career, he was a top 30, 40 player in the NFL. He took such a drop off in his career in terms of play, in my opinion. He felt slow on the field. He was never an elite blocking tight end, but I don't think he blocked well at all last year. I think Travis Kelce at this point in his career is a glorified receiver. And he's subpar at best at that. So that's my opinion.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Travis Kelce last year, this is all pass catchers, not tight ends. He was 24th in receptions with 76. He was 27th in yards with 851. He was 44th in touchdowns with 5. So I don't think that's really anything to gawk at.
But we're talking about the top 100 players in the NFL. So maybe we're talking about a top 25 all-around pass catcher in the NFL. We're talking about the top 100 players in the NFL. There's no way the 25th best pass catcher in the NFL should be in the top 100 list, much less at 70.
Are we giving him the benefit of the fact that he's the only pass catcher of note on that team?
I mean, if he's the only one, his stats should be significantly better. No,
Not if the whole team's guarding him.
they're not double teaming Travis Kelce anymore. It's not 2020.
I mean,
They
comparatively, like if
They're
the team is
bracketing
really
him
bad,
over the
they're
middle of
gonna
the
go
field.
against the top player, and they're going to be double blocking the top player, which was Travis Kelce.
I mean,
From what
we're
I-
talking about AJ Brown here at 80, and no one's talking about his stats.
I put AJ Brown above Travis Kelce though.
AJ Brown.
I don't think AJ Brown is better than Travis Kelce right now.
Oh, I disagree.
I think they're both horrible.
So then why are you arguing with me? Why do you think they're both horrible? Why are you arguing with me that I think Travis Kelce's overrated on this list?
Because 79 is horrible for Travis Kelce. That is bad for him. We're talking about potentially the best tight end of all time. He's in the conversation. I don't think he is, but he's in the conversation. He gets to stand in the room when you talk.
At one point, this is the top 100 right now. I don't think Travis Kelce's there anymore.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they're
It
not.
could be like
gonna-
101.
Yeah, I agree. 101, Casey, just to make my point further.
But I mean, how many of the pass catchers ranked here below him should have jumped him, other than AJ Brown, which is a bit difference of opinion?
Ranked here below, I would have Ted McMillan above him, and that's the only other pass catcher on the list. So
How can Ted McMillan have good stats if Bryce Young had bad stats?
I didn't say Bryce Young had bad stats. That was Casey.
Didn't you pick him as your too highly ranked player?
Yes, but it wasn't about his stats. It's about watching Bryce Young. The guy is terrible half the time. The other half, he's really good. But there's half the time where he's an awful quarterback.
But they're saying he's the 98th best player on here. They're saying Brock Purdy is better than him. So I don't think that's.
I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that.
I can't believe Baker Mayfield's the 77th ranked player. I just didn't have the heart to say that. I don't know if he should be up that high.
Yeah, I don't have the heart to talk about that, but.
In respect for you guys, I won't.
Yeah, maybe we should leave it on that before we get into some
Some
difficult
heartbreaking
conversations
stuff.
about the Bucks and Baker Mayfield. But all right, guys, do you have anything else before we sign it off for today?
No, I think that's all I had.
That's all you have, Casey?
Yeah, I think the Rams will have 3 out of the top 10 top 100 players. Stafford, Garrett, Nakua.
I bet they won't.
I bet they do.
I bet they won't.
If they do, then
One more time.
if they don't, I don't even know what I can even say to that because they are. Like, what am I supposed to say about that?
Oh, so
Because
you should be able to,
it's gonna be Stafford, Garrett, one two punch that one of those two, and then Puka's probably gonna be in out of the top 5 because everyone hates Puka. JSN's a great player, and
No, I can
out of
think
his-
of multiple players who I think might be above Puka. I think Justin Jefferson will be ahead of him.
Jamar Chase.
Ooh.
Jamar Chase will be ahead of him.
Jamar Chase, who's that?
Well, Puka. Okay, think about this.
Don't try me on that. No.
Puka Nacua just did what he did with the league MVP, and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson just did very similar things with Joe Flacco in 9.
What did Jefferson do this 2025? I'm actually serious. I want to look it up. Oh, but
we can cut it here. We'll look after.
Yeah,
Let's go ahead and wrap it up for the week. We'll continue this conversation.
And we'll start the next episode with what Casey's going to do when the top 10 does not include 3 Rams.
Yes, we will. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for watching today. If you made it to the very end, it was a long episode, so we appreciate it. If you enjoyed the podcast, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel. Make sure to stay tuned to our Instagram account. It's under the same name at 300 Section Sports Podcast for content throughout the week. We'll be back next week, Monday, regularly scheduled for the next episode. Thank you all so much for watching, and see you later.
Thanks for watching.